Howdy folks, this is Brad and I'm in Lucy right now. And this is an episode of the Compression Vlog. This is our newest series that we have right here on the Compression Network that we are uploading every week. Seriously, big goals for us, I know. We're uploading this every week and we are going to be posting these videos quite sporadically, showing you guys the kinds of things that, we want to talk about. It can be anything. Politics, current events, anything, and especially car-related stuff, because, we're a car channel. That's what we do. So if you folks are interested, like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for more right here on the Compression Network, because we're going to have more coming to you. Howdy folks, welcome to another episode of the Compression Vlog. Today's subject matter is about a bill that was recently passed out west of where we live. We live in Pennsylvania. That basically changes the age of a classic or historic car to prevent people from abusing that kind of license plate system. And we're going to be talking about this here today because this is actually something that I discovered recently on Hemmings Motor News. I am subscribed to that website, and I'll actually post a link to it down below in the description of the article if y'all want to read it. Credit completely to Hemmings for bringing this topic up to me. And then, of course, me just bantering and giving my opinion here on YouTube. Fair rights clause. So, what is the law? Well, I believe it was in the state of Arkansas. I'd have to look at it again, where they basically outlawed the original bill that was introduced only a handful of years ago that says a classic car or historic car is anything more than 25 years old. So, for example, say Lucy, our 1991 Mustang, she is currently going on 28 years old this year. She's a very old car. And, she still runs strong. She's very old. I don't drive her every day, but she's reliable, she's robust, and that's a good thing. But this law was recently passed saying that a historic car must be older than that. It must be at least 45 years or older, because apparently people were registering their reliable early to late 90s daily drivers as historic cars, and thus having cheaper insurance, and thus having a car with cheaper insurance rates, a cheaper payment or whatever, and basically driving it that way just to save money. And this law was recently passed to prevent that. Why is this happening? Well, in my personal opinion, I feel like this is people unable to let go of the past. In other words, people nowadays, politicians, who are looking back in the 90s and saying, I remember when my son was growing up in the 90s. That wasn't that long ago. Newsflash, your son's damn near 30 years old. He's probably got kids of his own. And yes, the 90s was damn near 30 years ago. Millennials, do you feel old yet? I know I do. In my opinion, politicians that are unable to let go of the past, that look at the 90s as, yesterdecade. It was the decade of, the funny hairdos and pants still up to your mid-waist and Palm Pilots, Windows 3, Windows 95, 97, good times. Not nowadays where we have PlayStation 4s and freaking virtual reality where you can recirculate your life into a unique console and make basically yourself be in the Matrix. Mustang. Oh, he didn't wave. Oh well. So, in my opinion, is this law just? Not really. Okay, now I can see it, I can understand it in the sense that people were abusing it. And I agree that in that context, it's not right. But at the same time, there are many cars from the 80s and 90s that, in my opinion, are now modern classics. Take, for instance, Lucy, our 91 Mustang. I would consider this a classic car. I don't see Fox bodies anywhere. I really don't. And if I do, they're all hot-rodded in one way or another. Lucy is the last of a dying breed. She's bone stock. Do I want to capitalize on that and put a historic plate on it? Well, according to the law in Pennsylvania, no, I don't, because of the way the laws are written. That's why she's registered as a daily driver. But if I lived in Arkansas and say the laws were a little more lenient on what you could do with a historic car, absolutely I would register it as a historic car. Not so I could drive it as a daily driver and get cheaper insurance, but simply put so it's not an insurance burden because I'm not driving it all the time. And I think that's where this thing comes in. Maybe if there was a way to actually log how many miles a car had put on it between inspections. Maybe you can waive the emissions, maybe not, I don't know. I'm sure that the emissions issues were also a big part of this law. But, if you had to take your car in for a yearly inspection, like you do here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, I don't see the big deal about it. Record the odometer reading and what it says. I understand some of these cars have broken odometers. That may be an issue. but record the odometer reading and say, hey, you put on 12,000 miles on this car last year, man. I'm sorry, but I can't give you a historic license plate anymore. We're gonna have to re-register this as a daily drive. Cap the limit at say 5,000 miles a year. The American average is 10,000 miles a year for a new car. I think that's a reasonable estimate, at least in my opinion. Would I happily get the odometer fixed if it meant that law applied? Absolutely. And that's where really I come into this. And in my opinion, I feel like that law is not just, but that with a little bit of tinkering and cranking and stuff like that on the previous law, that could be just. Say 25 years old, say like, and I go out and buy my 1991 Ford Mustang, 5-liter LX. I don't intend on driving this car every day. I have my daily drivers, I have my other cars that I would use. Seriously, just bend the law, the 25-year laws, and say, okay, you got to get this car inspected at least once a year. We don't give a flip about emissions, but when you get it inspected, we're going to take a look at your odometer, and if you're over a certain number of miles a year, sorry, man, we can't give you the historic categorization. You got to get a different kind of insurance premium for this car. I could see that as being the law. That's just my opinion. I don't know, maybe that's too strict too. I'm sure that there's ways that y'all could tweak this in one way or another. Like I said, this just popped up recently, and again, in my opinion, it's not a very just law. It's not a very right law. Stuff from the 90s can be considered classic. This, even though it's technically designed in the late 70s, is still a 90s car. And yes, I would argue it's a classic. Early SN95 Mustangs are approaching 25 years old. I would say, yes, they're classic at this point. Certain types of Honda Civics, Acura Integras, there's a lot of different cars that I would like to register as classics. It's not about what you use as a daily driver, it's also about what's worth saving. But the problem is, to anybody, that can differ in one way or another. Yesterday your station wagon was nothing more than a family car. Today, it can be considered a collector's item. So, like I said, there's a lot of give and play there, but I think, honestly, my mile idea, that's just my idea. I'm sure there are better ones out there. That's where you folks come in. Comment down below what your opinions are on this new law. Like I said, I'll post the article from Hemmings Motor News to it in the description. Free shout out to Hemmings. Make sure y'all subscribe to them too. That's a really cool thing. They post lots of classic cars and stuff like that for sale. Great website. They're not sponsoring us, but I just want to throw it out there. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Compression Network and stay tuned for more vlog posts like this and more updates and videos in general. We've got a lot more ideas coming up here in the future, and I can't wait to get them out to you folks. Anyway, I got to get off here because I'm approaching town, and basically this is where I get off because I'm almost home. So we'll see y'all in the next episode. Thanks for watching.